Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility. What I plan to cover is how we can shift from a mindset that this is an IT problem, that this is really an everybody problem. I'm going to talk about how we go from training that's once a year kind of training to true security culture. And I'm going to do that in 10 minutes. Now, a lot of what we cover, we can show you how we do things back at booth number P4. So later on, I'll be around, my team's around. If you have any questions, by all means, please make your way there. So again, I'm David Bochsler from KnowBe4, based out of Singapore, and thanks again for your time today. Let's start off with some statistics. I updated myself on the current state. In the Philippines, Philippines is known for many great things, but one thing you don't want to be known for is to be the country that has the highest number of disruptive attacks in Southeast Asia. And unfortunately, based on the 400% growth that we have experienced here in phishing, in attacks, it has put Philippines up into that top spot. So that's one issue. The other issue is that many, according to a local report, of these attacks are through phishing attacks, and that means that we have a human component to look at. We have the human error factor. And so that's going to be a key component about everything I talk about, because at KnowBe4 we really look at empowering your users to make smarter security decisions every day, making them the heroes and the strongest link, not the weakest link. Now, of course, the government has taken on many initiatives to help combat this growing threat. But at the end of the day, it's the people in this audience, the leaders. It's incumbent upon you to be able to make sure that your people can help stop these threats on their own. So, talking about the human threat, or the human error. Look, when we talk about human error, we often think about things like, phishing attacks and clicking on a button. But human error is also letting somebody tailgate behind you and enter a building. There's physical security. Perhaps putting your password up on a sticky note, or having insecure passwords, clicking on that fish, and so on. So I won't read through all of these, but the point is that our people need to be properly educated as to the impact of their actions and what that has on an organization. So what does security culture mean to us? So security culture is defined as the ideas, customs, and social behaviors that impact the security of your organization. So how can we create a very strong security culture? We speak with hundreds of companies every day. We've been talking to many of you over the day today. Everyone that I talk to, your security awareness, let's call it, it fits somewhere into one of these 5 levels. Everywhere from general security awareness all the way through to level 5, which is security culture. Now, unfortunately, many organizations take the approach that I call it checkbox training. Hey, we do training once a year, boom, we're done. We get in a classroom, we're good. We can tell the board we've done our security training. But then there are the other companies that are more interested in the impact, about being able to reduce the probability to mitigate the risk of their users making a terrible mistake. And they fit all the way, levels 2, 3, 4, 5, up to the most secure security cultures that exist today. Now, you can take a picture of this because we have this free download available for anybody that wants to see how we look at security culture and how to get there. Now, one of the things about having a strong security culture, if you're at level 4, level 5, a lot of it is about transparency. It's about honesty. It's about being very open with your people, not getting them in trouble when they click on a simulated fish, for example. It's about praising them. Anyone who's got children here, you didn't discipline your child when they were learning to walk and they fell over, did you? You didn't say, hey, stop trying to walk. You don't know what you're doing. No, you pick them up and you help them along and you teach them. And that's the philosophy that we take into building strong security cultures today in the organizations that we work with. All right, I talked about the one end of the spectrum, which is once a year, get into a classroom, learn about security, write the test, and then feel like you're done. We call that old school training, old school education. Now the new school education, the way that we know works, and we have the stats to back it up, is regularly in little bite-sized chunks, teach your people something. I'm talking 5 minutes. Check out this video, 5 minutes. Take a quiz at the end, 1 minute. Play a game. We have games as well. So that's the kind of awareness, the training component. But how do you know if you're doing a good job? And you that hold the budgets or request budgets to do security awareness training, how do you get that approved and continue year after year to know that you're doing a good job? Well, you have to test. And I'll show you statistics on some of our testing, but that's the best way to test is through simulated phishing attacks, of which at KnowBe4 we have over 22,000 simulated attacks. Everything from social engineering, CEO fraud, and so forth. Free pizza. And we have specific attacks, simulated phishing attacks for the Philippines themselves. But that's how we test to see, are people getting it? And by the way, if they click on something, we let them know right away, oh, you made a mistake. And here's some custom training just for you. And all this is done automatically. Now, whether you have a platform like KnowBe4 or not, I highly encourage you to employ this same technique over time. And finally, we need to have the analysis and look at who's doing training, what are the results, look at one department based on another department. And by the way, if you're going to have a real security culture, it's not just individual contributors. It has to start from the leadership. Now, being one of the leaders of my company, I do the same training as everybody else. I also am subjected to simulated phishing attacks, and I'm admitting in front of however many people that are here that I click on those fishes sometimes as well. 3 times so far. Now, I'm telling you that because it's the same thing I tell my people. Hey guys, I made a really stupid mistake. Let me tell you about it. It humanizes everything. It says, hey, the boss could make a mistake. It's okay if once in a while I do, but I need to learn how not to. Now, this looks very complicated. When you're at the right side of security maturity into a security culture, what we do is we operate like marketers to our own people. We run campaigns. We run a campaign about certain kind of, like a phishing campaign, for example, a training campaign. Now, this looks very complicated, doesn't it? It is. Down to the week, to the day, to the month. How can somebody keep up with all of that? Well, it's a big job. However, we do that all automated. Answering a few quick questions, we set up these campaigns for your entire organization. Over time, as they make mistakes, as I did, clicking on the wrong thing, I end up getting unique training as well. So what happens is over time, depending on role, your department, and what you've clicked on by mistake, you end up having very customized training. Now, what is that? What's the result of that? If you do more new school training like I've just described, you have a marked increase in knowledge of the team and a decrease in how often they'll click on bad emails. So when we work across over 70,000 organizations, over 10 million end users, we have more data than any company in the whole world on this subject, and we have found it works. That when we start off at a company, 1 out of every 3 people clicks on something they shouldn't, like, wow, seriously dangerous. But after 3 months, half of that, it's down to half of that, 1 out of 6 people, and finally after a year, it's 1 out of 20 people, or 5%. You'll never get to 0. There are some people that just like to click on free pizza. What can you do, right? They need a special conversation. But the results are proven, as shown there. And of course, as I said, we can show you more of that in the back. I want to close up with this. Maybe take another photo of this one or ask us about it over at booth P4. But we also have a lot of free guides. We want to help. Whether you work with us or not, we throw so much free information out on the web because ultimately our goal is to protect everyone as much as we can. With that, I want to thank you for your time. If you're interested in connecting on LinkedIn, please, let's continue the conversation there. Just take a photo of my details. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, thank you so much. Tough job. That was David Bochsler. Once again, well, he talked about the cybercrime in the Philippines. Human error remains a critical vulnerability, and to find out more about, how to decrease behavior-related risk, baseline testing, train users, fish their users, and see the results. We should all test like an attacker. Highlights from him.